everyone. Welcome to BND, the Banker Next Door. I'm your host, Dr. Joseph Berquist. I'm here. This is the very first episode of the podcast where we're going to introduce you to the wonderful world of banking. This podcast, so what are we looking to do? What are we trying to accomplish here with this podcast? This is an educational podcast looking to bring you information about the world of banking. So hopefully you can learn a few things. Hopefully you can learn a little bit about why a bank does a lot of the things it does. How does a bank manage its money? How does a bank lend money? Why does a bank take in deposits? We're going to look at a lot of different facets around banking, everything from marketing to sales to strategy, management, asset and what they call asset and liability management, the management of the bank's balance sheet, different investments that a bank might make. We're going to get into all the different people that help service a bank day in and day out, all the different lawyers and accountants and vendors and investment bankers, a lot of different people involved in the day-to-day operations of any bank in the country that operate, and regardless of how big or small that bank is. We are going to get into the history of economics. We're going to look at basically the banking history in the United States. How did banks start? Where did they go? And one of the future podcast episodes we're going to be talking about the U.S., the first bank of the United States, which was the first central bank in the U.S. Got some very interesting things happening there. But what is this podcast really hoping to accomplish? Well, we're going to not only look at banking, but we're going to look at the intersection between economics, finance, technology, and banking. How do those different worlds collide, and why are they important to bankers? Why does a banker care about what's happening in the marketplace? Why does a banker care about macroeconomic issues and microeconomic issues? Why does a banker care about necessarily some of the politics of things going on in Washington, D.C.? And the reason for that is that banks are very heavily regulated, and they have to keep an eye on the different regulations and things that are coming out because they can have profound effects on how a bank runs its day-to-day operations. A lot of different things have happened, particularly over the last 20 years. Everything from the dot-com bubble bursting, Enron, Arthur Andersen, the whole entire scandal there. All of these things, the financial crisis in 07, 08, 09, all of these things have brought significant legislation and different things that have come down the pike, which ultimately have affected banks. So what are some of the things that we're going to look at in this podcast? We're going to look at current events. We're going to look at current news articles that are current happenings in the press. We're going to look at economic indicators. We're going to look at a lot of different things. What is the Fed looking at when they look at inflation? They're looking at the CPI, the PPI, the PCE. We're going to take a look at all of these different economic indicators and break them down for you and try to explain what they do, how they function, why they're important, and even why you as a consumer should be paying attention to them. We're also going to look at a lot of reports. We're going to look at peer-reviewed articles that are written about banks, about finance, about economics. We're going to look at all of the regulatory bodies, whether it be the OCC or the FDIC or the Federal Reserve. They all do a certain amount of research. They all put out reports every single year. These are a lot of different reports or things that we'll take a look at. We're also going to talk about books, different things. So, for example, here's some books that we'll eventually hit on and go over. All In on AI, a great little book on artificial intelligence from Thomas Davenport. The Lords of Easy Money, Christopher Leonard. This is a book that we'll talk about. Very interesting book from McKinsey that just came out, Rewired. We're going to take a look at that, and then some books right here. CEO Excellence, another McKinsey read here that we're going to take a look at. So, those are all we're definitely going to take a look at a lot of different business books, a lot of different happenings. And let's take a look right now. Like, for example, let's give everyone an example of the different type of articles that we're going to take a look at here. So here, for example, here's the semi-annual risk perspective from the OCC. And as we get into this report here, we scroll down here a little bit. What are some of the key takeaways? So what are some of the key risk themes right now? We got liquidity, credit risk, operational risk, compliance risk. These are all kind of the some of the main risks right now that regulators are really concerned with, and things that we'll take a look at and break down in future podcast episodes. What are some of the other news articles and things that we'll look at? So here, for example, here's an article on treasury management. How do treasury management products help a bank? How do they help with a bank's cash flow? How do they help with a bank to increase their net interest margin? How do they help with interest expense, loan loss provisions, non-interest income? All things that we'll take a look at in that realm of treasury management. What are some of the articles we might look at here? Regional banks slide after Moody's downgrade. Again, current events. Fitch downgrades U.S. credit rating. We'll take a look at that, and we'll talk about things going on there. Banks' problems aren't over, according to the bond market. So what does the bond market think right now of some of these risks that are pertaining to banks in different fashions? Some banks struggle to report uninsured deposits correctly. What is happening with that? Well, with the bank failures that happened back in March and April, a little bit earlier this year, one of the big problems that came of that was uninsured deposits. So we'll take a look at that and find out what's going on with that. Why are regulators concerned about it? Why are they keying in on it right this minute? So things like that articles like that we'll really take a look at and delve into what's going on. So what am I hoping to bring everyone here? Also looking to add some interviews from a lot of different sources, a lot of different people coming in. For example, we're going to, one of the things is we'll take a look at legislative issues that are going on right now with organizations like the ICBA, the Independent Community Bankers Association. We'll also talk to some people, perhaps with the ABA, the American Bankers Association, to get their take on it. So a lot of good interviews, a lot of different things scheduled to come down the pike as we kind of move along here. And then finally, I would definitely love to mix in a little bit of pop culture. I love different movies or perhaps documentaries, different things that have come out. Like I think one of the things that comes to mind is like the Bernie Sanders, not Bernie Sanders, Bernie Madoff was just on Netflix. That series was really good and really interesting. It would be great to kind of break that down and talk about that a little bit. Different movies that have just, really affected the finance world and the pop culture world at the same time. I mean, I kind of go back to the original movie Wall Street with Michael Douglas that came out back in 1987. And I think about the profound effect that movie had. And then that was followed by movies such as like Boiler Room in the late 1990s, and then followed more recently by movies like The Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio. These are all really good finance movies from different perspectives. So I think there are different lessons, different things that we can learn from examining movies like that, and how they how they came out of the finance world and how they continue to reverberate throughout, just pop culture and people's feelings about banks and financial institutions in general. But that's basically it. I mean, that's really what we're looking at. I thank you for joining me here for the first episode, and I hope to bring some really great things here in the not too distant future. So stay tuned, and we'll be back real soon. Thank you so much.